Hi, this is Glenda from Soaps by Glenda. Today I'm making an experiment that I'm very excited to share with you, and it has to do with a soap technique. But first, let me give you some background. I first tried the pull through screen technique in a challenge from the Soap Challenge Club about 5 years ago, according to this YouTube video, where we made our own screens, and they explained how this was a technique from the painting world. One of the winner soaps from that challenge was made in a round column mold, and it has become very popular to make flower shapes that way. Sometimes this is called the Kaleidoscope technique. A few months ago, I tried making flower shapes in a loaf mold instead and got some decent results. I'm going to link that video down below. This technique seems to have better results if you have even color layers throughout the soap. Although originally we just made it with mixed colors in between and pour side to side. The common denominator is that the screen is pulled from the bottom of the mold all the way up and out. So my idea that I want to test is whether instead of pulling a screen on this way from the soap, if I could just slide it from side to side. I don't think it's going to work, to be honest, because I do believe that the centrifugal motion of this coming up is what helps create the design, but I want to test it anyway. Now if I use this mold, the flower design won't be complete, so I'm going to use a tall and skinny mold instead, and I'm going to use dividers to put the different colors. The dividers are just corrugated plastic board that I've sealed the edges, because if not, the soap goes into these little holes. So this part that is not sealed is going to be on top, where the soap's not going to be anyway. I'll prepare my 4 colors. It's going to be half a teaspoon of each of these colors: Synergy, Purple Vibrance, Berry Twist, and Shimmering White Clouds Mica. Fragrance is gonna be lavender. So I have the light water solution at room temperature, which right now it's 85 degrees Fahrenheit or 29 Celsius. And the light water solution should be close to it. I mixed it earlier. It's 31 Celsius and 88 Fahrenheit. And it is a warm summer day in the Gulf Coast. I'm working in such low temperatures because my recipe has about 63% of solid fats and butters, and I do not want it to trace too quickly for this technique. I'm going to add the light water solution to the oils, and I'm going to blend this very sparingly, only until I reach emulsion phase. I kept looking at the shaft of the stick blender to see if it looked like it had reached emulsion, and once I thought it had, then I stopped blending and split the soap batter into the 4 containers for each color. I'm not going to use the stick blender at all. I'm going to stir each color manually just with a spatula, and then I'm going to wait and let it come to trace on its own. This normally takes about 10 minutes. So while I waited for this to come to trace on its own, I had prepared myself a little project that I could do with all my safety gear in place, and that was to make another soap. So I set these containers apart and I made a simple soap. It was only a single color, single fragrance, no design soap. In the meantime, this actually took me about 20 minutes. So So it's been about 20 minutes actually, and it does seem to be a light trace, so I should be able to pour it. So pouring each color into the dividers was a little bit tricky. This first color was actually leaking in from the bottom into the other side, so I tried to put the next color rather quickly because I know that once I get color into each space, then it's easier for those colors to remain there and then just to continue filling up the rest of the mold. So at the beginning, I'm only putting a small amount at the bottom of each container, and then I'll come back and do more gradually. Another problem that presented itself was that unless I was holding on to the dividers and pushing them down, the more soap batter that I added, then they started to lift, to come up. So I had to keep pressing on them down so they kept the soap batter divided, but it was a little bit tricky. You know, now that I pulled the dividers out, the soap content has gone down, so the flower tip is barely being covered. But you know what? Here we go. So I'm just going to wait. Should I wait? Should I do it now or should I wait? I think I'm gonna wait, because right now the soap butter seems to be, it is at full trace, but sometimes it works better when it's a little bit thicker. So I do wonder if I should wait for it to get a little bit thicker. I'm gonna wait a couple minutes. While I was waiting, I decided to use some of the leftover soap batter that I had to carefully add more to the colors, because like I mentioned earlier, it seemed that it was a little bit too short from the target height that I wanted. But I didn't have the same leftover of all the colors because of all the spillage that happened in between the dividers. So it's been about 10 minutes, and I think it should have thickened enough to do this light. So here we go. It's actually a little bit hard to do this. That made an interesting top, but I'm going to probably destroy by scraping back some of the soap. If this works even somewhat, I'll probably give it another attempt with a better design screen and more tight-fitting dividers for the layers. But we'll see. I'm also going to force gel because I was working with such low temperatures that I want to make sure that I didn't have a false trace and to have also vibrant colors. So I'm going to put a heating pad underneath it and cover it with some blankets, and I'll see tomorrow what it looks like and I'll show you. But for you, it's only going to be a few seconds. Just the next day is about 24 hours later. I molded it earlier, and what I did is that I did some calculations on where to cut it based on where the flowers might be if it worked. Understand this may not work at all, but either way I think I'm gonna get an interesting swirl. So here comes the moment of truth. Oh, and my glove broke yesterday, and I realized after I had made the soaps, and it broke right here. So this nail became yellow compared to my other nail. So it feels like if when soap batter touches it, it's like when that chemical to do perms touches your skin or your nails, they become yellow. Okay, so the flower design affixes should be on this face, so I'm gonna cut it in half because on the sideways you can see bad. Dun, dun, dun. Look at that. I'll say that worked better than I expected, if I'm honest. So, oh, and you can see my bars are really small. They're more like square bars. So I'm thinking that if this worked, I could design a screen specifically for the mold that I want to use. But I'm excited about that because one of the reasons why I wanted to try sliding it is because I feel it's easier for me to do layers from the top vertically than trying to do layers horizontally. Okay, so that's another one. I wonder if they're all gonna be the same color or if they all worked. Because what if not all of them work? But I feel they will be the same color because that's where I have the dark purple with the white. Ah, that one looks good too. I'm pretty happy about this. So this is it. This is the end of the experiment. Thank you for joining me thus far. If you want to read more about this soap, I will write a blog post and I'm going to link it in the description box below. If you have any questions, you can make them below. And I'm also going to link my Etsy store and other information you may find helpful. Until next time, happy soaping and let me know what you've been up to down below. Bye.